Hello Gates, this is being said for the first time in full. At 93 years old, Angie Dickinson does finally speak up about her years with Frank Sinatra, and what she reveals turns everything we thought we knew upside down. She calls him the love of my life, yet also says she didn't want to marry him. bestlefinline.com news.amomama.com. That shocking contrast alone should make you sit up and listen. Why now? Why after all this time? And what truth has been kept silent until today? In the next few minutes you're going to hear the headline story version of what happened behind the glitz, the Rat Pack, the headline romance, with surprises. We'll go beyond the myths and show the real feelings, the trade-offs, and the moment when everything changed. Stay tuned, because by the end you'll see Angie and Frank's relationship in a way you almost certainly haven't before. Angie grew up far from Hollywood, dreamed big, and then landed in a world where Frank Sinatra reigned supreme. When she met him, she says, "We just liked each other." bestlefinline.com. Think about that. It wasn't fireworks at first, but something rare, a sense of ease. Yet Frank was the ultimate star, the guy who walked in and changed the energy of the room. Rat-pack-music-alliance.com. Angie recalled how, on the set of Ocean's 11, he went to bed at 6 a.m., classic Sinatra lifestyle. bestlefinline.com. So here you have two bodies heading different directions. Angie, the professional actress with early morning calls, Frank, the all-night legend. That clash of lifestyle is the first hint that things might not follow the usual Hollywood fairy tale. Fast forward, Angie says he was the love of my life. News.amomama.com. That's heavy. But then she adds, she didn't want to marry him, and he said he didn't want to marry an actress. He said, I'm not going to marry an actress. And I said, well, I don't blame you. bestlefinline.com. Pause on that. Someone so legendary, someone she felt so deeply, saying, I just can't marry you because you're an actress. That's a bomb. What does that mean about their relationship? What was the unspoken but the issue beneath the surface? They almost walked down the aisle in 1964. News.amomama.com. But it never happened. They remained close, long after the tabloid headlines faded. Which begs the question, was this a choice on her part, his, or something deeper? Angie admitted, and I actually didn't want to marry him. 'Cause I didn't want to say no to Frank. bestlefinline.com. There's humility in that. There's self-protection. There's the realization that sometimes you choose not to say yes because saying yes would change everything. Here's the real heart of the story. Frank's world demanded a certain freedom, a certain myth. Angie's world demanded career, identity, morning calls, professionalism. It's one thing to love someone, it's another to share a life with them when their world is built to revolve around you. She recognized that. She said, I wouldn't have wanted to be married to him. CBS News. That's the twist. It's not that she didn't love him. It's that the structure didn't suit her, and perhaps she knew it. That truth rarely gets told in Hollywood love stories, and let's be honest, Frank Sinatra had a reputation for late nights, power plays, the Rat Pack haze. Angie knew it from the inside. She mentioned that in the early days, the garbage men would hang around his car when it was parked outside her house. Vanity Fair. That image is loaded. It shows the surreal public life blended with private refuge, and how even being the partner of in that context meant something else entirely. So they didn't marry, but they remained friends. Life marched on. Angie turned to other relationships, including marriage to Burt Bacharach. Frank continued his star trajectory. But the imprint of what they had stayed. Angie has said she still smiles when she thinks of him. News.amomama.com. She still calls him the love of my life. And she still stands by her choice. That's the moment of transformation. She moves from almost bride to keeper of a memory who accepted that something beautiful was also something she couldn't or didn't want to make her entire life. Why does this matter now? Because in her 90s, Angie is finally willing to put the headline version aside and speak the real version, wounded, wise, witty. She's opening that loop for us. The truth is, love isn't always about the wedding, the ring, the happily ever after. Sometimes it's about being honest with yourself, about choosing a version of a relationship that doesn't fit the public script. And Angie's story does that. She gives us one of the last pieces of the Sinatra myth puzzle, from the perspective of the woman who loved him. So what does it all mean? Two legends, Angie Dickinson and Frank Sinatra, linked by talent, charisma, chemistry, and a relationship that rewrote the rules in its own quiet way. Angie chose freedom over formality, truth over tradition. And now at 93, she's telling us. The drama wasn't the tabloid headlines, it was the internal reckoning. Here's what I want you to do: think about a relationship in your own life, maybe not with a superstar, but one where you loved someone, where you almost said yes, where the timing or the circumstances didn't fit the myth you pictured. How many of us say yes to the wrong things so we don't have to say no to the right things? Angie's story flips that around, and it gives you permission to choose consciously. So pause this video now, take a moment, and reflect. What truth have you been holding back because you were afraid of the myth instead of the reality? Then resume here, with fresh eyes, because Angie's voice might be 93 years old, but the lesson is timeless.